There you go.
Man, I got to confess, I'm feeling kind of lost today. I'm feeling kind of just empty inside. I had big plans for tonight, big plans for the weekend, actually. I was having some friends over. We're going to have a big WNBA watch party. I'm a Washington Mystics guy, always been a big Mystics guy. They're my favorite. And yesterday, I took the news hard. I really did. You thought Doc Rivers could cry on cue? You should have seen me when the Washington Mystics walked up. Well, they wore T-shirts, one that spelled out Jacob Blake's name, and then I believe they walked off the court and said they're not going to play until we get change. Change. They want change, and they want everyone to vote. Of course, they want everyone to vote for the same people who are in charge of all these cities and all these states that are having all the problems. But don't get bogged down in the details. We have to change, Shattuck and Cullinane. We all have to change, or the Mystics aren't going to take the court again.
I didn't know
other teams, and I don't know any of the other teams, but there must be other teams, right?
Who broadcasts the Mystics games? Is it on ESPN? Because
I don't know.
Look at this.
And the T-shirts, and whoever came up with that idea, it is striking with the 7 bullet holes. Jacob Blake shot 7 times in the back.
Well, in the plan.
See, I had no idea they were on television.
Who's the old bald guy in the middle? got all these young, athletic black women, and in the middle is a bald. Is that like the trainer?
Like guy in the comment section. I called into work today because I can't take the WNBA news.
I understand they'll never ever be criticized. You can't even mention the fact that their ratings stink or the revenue. You know, like LeBron James makes more. Steph Curry makes more money per year than the WNBA does. Their revenue is like, I don't know, 60, 70 million total, and the NBA is like 7 billion. They really aren't on the same playing field, but that doesn't matter because in this era of super wokeness, everybody has to get on board. I said this to you the other day, Shattuck, and I've said it a few times, but I think Trump, I'm feeling much, much better, and we'll get to the RNC because it was excellent last night. There were some great speeches and some great theater. But first, since we're talking about theater, we have to talk about the NBA and sports, pro sports as a whole, and the theater that we saw, them walking off the court, boycotting, protesting, refusing to play. And as I'm watching this, as I'm reading it, it's like in real time, one team after another decides they're not going to play. And occasionally you get a statement from a player, not just a tweet. And occasionally you get their thoughts on this. And my question is always, what do you want? What is it you're demanding? When I see these protests and these riots in the street, I want reporters, and there's a lot of reporters are afraid to cover it. I want them to put microphones in the faces of the protesters and say, please tell us what you want. That should be an essential part of protesting, shouldn't it? To tell everyone what you want, what you are demanding. All we've got so far is a bunch of tweets from players, including LeBron James. I mean, this is your thought leader. This is the guy leading the protest, leading the demand for change. Do you have his tweet there, Cullinane? Because I'm not sure I can. I'm not sure we could top that. His tweet is "Fuck this man." What man's he talking about?
Which man?
I don't know. We demand change. Sick of it. That's that's the guy leading the charge. We demand change. Sick of it. Is it asking too much to say, what do you want to change, LeBron? Tell us, help us. What do you want to change? You want different, police tactics? Do you want them to use rubber bullets instead of real bullets? Do you want, to make it harder to become a cop? Do you want, get rid of qualified immunity, chokeholds? I don't know can you tell me what LeBron James and company are demanding?
No, but I have no idea, and I don't know why the default is when something happens where we don't know about the facts, and there's video that seems very disturbing. So who knows? Maybe this was a horrific shooting. Maybe the cops shouldn't have done this. Maybe they did it the wrong way. Maybe they did it the right way. Who knows? But why is the answer then to do the least productive and most lazy thing? Why is the answer then to stop doing our job? I think that there would be more eyes on LeBron to give his messaging if he kept doing his job. Why is the answer to go out in the street and then break stuff? The answer isn't to educate yourself on the actual facts, because that takes work and you might disarm most of your argument during it. The answer is always to do the most lazy and destructive thing. And I mean, why not? Because all the parents of white kids from Wellesley who are out there doing it think it's the greatest thing in the world.
Right.
That Johnny's having the difficult conversations and getting in people's faces and making them feel uncomfortable. Because, you know, if there's trouble in the streets, then, you know, then if there's trouble in the streets, then we must get out there and make sure that we, you know, keep this stuff up. You know,
here's the flaw here. Here's the flaw, the big flaw in this boycott. The NBA, if you missed it, they walked off the court. They refused to play. I guess they're in the playoffs. I can't even keep track. I don't even know what's going on half the time, what the game means. You know, I'm not sure. I'm not keeping up like a lot of people. The ratings stink, but they can blame that on the weird timing, the virus, no fans. They're in a bubble, and the players are a little irritated, anxious. You know, they don't like being in the bubble. They don't like the fact that there are no women there to distract them, to quote the great Mike Milbury. You know, they don't want to be there anymore. You know, some guys can't wait to get out of there. I was thinking that Milwaukee started this. Milwaukee has a 3-1 advantage over Orlando. I mean, I know Orlando's essentially home, but those guys are thinking one more game and we get to go, you know, go home and see our wives and girlfriends and kids and whatever, go somewhere, get out of here. And they're like, can we just get this over? Instead, the Milwaukee Bucks decide they're not playing, so neither is the Orlando Magic and anyone else. But the people who are commending them, and they're slobbering all over them. The media just loves this. You know it. They're already woke, right? They're already demanding this vague change and hope and, you know, vote. And it's like the people who were praising Doc Rivers yesterday, just falling all over themselves. This man is just he's so amazing. And I'm so proud to call him a friend and a coworker. And all the players were tweeting out because Doc, you know, he's smart. He knew how to hit a nerve. He knew when to get choked up. It was brilliant. But as I tweeted, and I don't care if this is insensitive, but Doc Rivers is essentially crying over Jacob Blake, right? Over the treatment of Jacob Blake. Mm-hmm. On the same weekend that the cops shot Jacob Blake, 64 black people were shot in Chicago, Doc Rivers' hometown. Is he going to cry for them? I mean, these are some of the kids, you know, every weekend in Chicago, it's a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, an 8-year-old. And I mean, maybe I just don't see it, but maybe Doc Rivers is talking about that. I don't see the NBA, you know, walking off the court because 64 black people, and God knows their lives matter. 64 black people were shot over the weekend in Chicago. You don't get a word. One violent fugitive is shot in Kenosha, and the whole country burns. It just, I don't see the balance in that, the context in that. It just seems like a chic, fashionable thing to do. Say, right, we need change. You know, we're not going to play. You know, we got to vote. I mean, I need a guy like Doc Rivers, a really smart guy, to explain further, to put, you know, to give me some answers. You know,
he only confused things. Doc Rivers only confused things because he went on to say that that he's not anti-cop, that he doesn't want to defund the police. That's not what this is about, he said. At the same time, Black Lives Matter now is intertwined into the NBA, and they specifically do want to defund the police. They're not, you know, it's not symbolic to them. They want to defund the police. And also, he said, we just want, you know, cops to do their jobs. Well, do you want them to do their jobs or not want them to do their jobs? Because I'm hearing two things from community leaders and black leaders in the black community. I hear two things. From the older people, I hear that the police take too long to get there when stuff happens. And so the black community feels like they're being neglected. From the younger people, I hear that the cops are omnipresent and beating the crap out of them and shooting them down like dogs daily. So which one is it? What's the problem with the cops? Is there some kind of consensus here? And if there is, what's the policy goal? Like you were saying, what do you want? You know, I mean, this year right now, in the United States, 656 people have been shot by cops in 2020 so far. Last year it was 1,004. Summer's almost over, so probably we're trending to have fewer people killed by cops altogether. Every year, there's more white people and Hispanics who are shot by cops than black people. It's a bigger percentage of black people. That said, there's more police incursions with black people. Some of the incursions, there are more pot arrests, and so there are inequities in there, and there are things to look at in there. But there is not an epidemic of blacks being shot in the streets daily by cops. There simply is not.
That's part one. Absolutely. We went over the numbers many, many times. We get the numbers from 2019, just last year, where 8 unarmed black men were shot by cops and 20-something white people, and a total of 40-something total. And there were over 750 million interactions with police, and 8 unarmed black men were shot by police. And I believe 3 or 4 were deemed justified. And in other cases, the cops were charged, just like Derek Chauvin was charged. The cop in Kenosha, we now know him and we've seen him. He looks like a nerd. He is possibly going to be charged, but they're investigating. And I guess people like Doc Rivers, they don't want to investigate. They just want change, and they just want to cry, and they just want to blame cops and get people riled up. It's totally irresponsible and reckless. But it doesn't matter to the woke crowd. It's incredible to me that I knew this would happen. I knew as soon as they announced the boycott that you'd see people on ESPN and people on Twitter saying, "This is wonderful. I'm so proud of these guys. They're refusing to play," and you don't hear the follow-up. They're refusing to play till when? Till what? I mean, it's got to be part of it. You're going to play. You're going to do your job when and. When what happens? Can you fill that blank in for me, LeBron or Doc or whoever, or Jason Tatum? I don't think they can. I don't think they will. I mean, they won't even tell us what the Kenosha cops were supposed to do. I've been asking all week. We had an expert on the other day. He said they followed protocol. They did what they were. We find out yesterday, it took 3 days, but we find out he had a knife. He admitted he had a knife. So he had a weapon, and if they tried to grab him and hold it, he would have used that weapon, I assume. He was a violent guy. He was wanted for domestic abuse, for sexual assault. He'd used guns in the past. So they're going to boycott and burn and loot, and because of Jacob Blake, not because of what's the number of shootings this year? 600 and something. Not because of any of it.
56.
Not because of that. All those victims. Not that. Over this guy who refused to cooperate and forced the cops to use lethal force. Now he's not dead yet, but not dead. I think he's paralyzed. His family says he's paralyzed from the waist down, and that's too bad. But doesn't he at least share the blame? I mean, he didn't cooperate. He went for his weapon. What did he think was going to happen?
Right. Well, and that's something that we see with most of these incursions is it's non-compliance with the police, and then that leads to something more. It was the same with the George Floyd thing. Wouldn't it be a useful thing to say, hey, if you're a fan of mine, you like the NBA, I ask you, just the first chapter of the book I just read on police compliance says that you're a lot less likely to escalate if you comply with the cops. Just do what the cops say. Even if you think they're wrong and jerks and the devil, just comply with the cops. And nobody's saying that. The fact that it's so, by default, you're allowed to wrestle with the police is something that should not be culturally accepted. And also, wouldn't LeBron be doing a better service if they were all playing? So you had youths in troubled in neighborhoods, communities, in watching TV rather than out in the streets.
And you got plenty of chances to make your case. God knows that anytime he wants, LeBron can attract the crowd, microphones and cameras. Same with Doc, same with Jason Tatum. They can make their case, make their statements to the media anytime they want, and the media will carry their water. I knew this would happen. Like I said, the people who love what the NBA is doing and other sports, the WNBA and baseball, and probably every sport soon. We'll see about football, but the people who are applauding it are the people who are already woke. They were already on board with whatever LeBron or Doc or or Steve Kerr, Greg Popovich, whatever they had to say, they were going to slobber all over them. So they're going to applaud this, but tell me who else you reached. Like who do you, as I joked on Twitter and got a lot of blowback, I joked that somewhere's a evil racist cop out there, out in middle America, and he was sitting down to watch an NBA game, and they're not playing, so he is really affected because he loved the NBA. Of course, he was an evil racist cop, but they're going to change his heart. They're going to change his mind. It just makes me scratch my head. I need to know whose heart and mind, whose hearts and minds are you changing with this, LeBron? Who is sitting there going, wow, they walked off the court. I guess I'm going to change what? My mentality, my mindset?
Although, Jerry, it's very interesting. It seems to me this is very insensitive to their good friends in the Chinese Communist Party. I wonder how that's going to go over.
It's a good point. And that's true. All those Uyghur Muslim slaves, they're not going to have to make as many sneakers for the players because they're not playing, or they stitch together those uniforms that say equality and justice.
Did they do the uniforms with the holes? Do they make those?
Those are made by slaves in China, but keep it under your hat, okay? They're a good business partner. These guys are such friggin' hypocrites. And we talked about the kids in Chicago, innocent children being shot. You don't hear LeBron crying over that. I mean, maybe he didn't read the story because he's busy reading the biography of Malcolm X. He's a really curious, cerebral guy. You could tell because he has a book in his hand when he's doing a press conference. I mean, he can't tell you how good his book is. It was hilarious when they asked him about the book, and he sounded like a kid who didn't do his homework.
Yeah.
He sounded like someone on Welcome Back, Kotter, pretending that they did.
It's funny. That is the phase that a lot of young men go through, that they go through. Like, I used to have a friend who used to leave his Dostoevsky novel at my house all the time. So I'd bring it up. Was this yours? Oh yeah. It's Crime and Punishment. I've just been, rereading it. It's like, shut up. Yeah. But it's the American media here has been so disgusting because they haven't covered the riots at all. There's not satellite trucks in Kenosha around the riots at all. It's the Daily Caller and Andy and one other person out there.
Let that guy Dylan Hernandez, who's front lines from Lives Matter,
right?
And they get and all they do is turn on their phones and video and show you, and it's amazing. You sit and you read the Washington Post, New York Times, or CNN. They will cover it, but they will whitewash it. We'll get to them. We'll get to the CNN Chiron, the CNN report from Kenosha last night. But wouldn't it be nice if an NBA player, if LeBron or whoever, Curry or Kerr, said, enough with the friggin' rioting, enough. You're wrecking black business, black employees. They're losing their jobs. You're destroying neighborhoods. I would think that would be more important than changing the protocol, that the tactics that police departments are supposed to employ. I mean, you go out there and you say, "Damn it, we've had enough of this rioting. This isn't how we affect change. Not by kicking in the door at Saks Fifth Avenue or burning the damn Pizza Hut." I mean, that's not the way to do it. Have you heard? I know no Democrats have done that. Democrats are encouraging it. We know that from last week because they had 4 days in prime time and nobody discouraged the violence, the looting, the rioting.
Lori Lightfoot spoke at the DNC and slammed Trump. The fact that the bridges are up in Chicago and the Magnificent Mile is somewhere that's uninhabitable now that you can't go to because there's roving fleets of caravans make their way into the city and steal stuff every single night. But it's not even, that wasn't mentioned at all. But what's great? One of the biggest jerks in all of media is Brian Karem from Playboy. Do you know him? He's in the White House.
He's like a professional jerk. That's his job.
I think he got in a fist fight with Gorka at one point. Anyway, he tweeted out, "Isn't it interesting that the 17-year-old shooter wasn't shot by police when he approached them, but Blake was killed by police.
Oh,
and it's a poisonous and dangerous, toxic thing to say and stupid to say. But there's also a lesson there is that the shooter wasn't wrestling with police. You know,
and the shooter, you're talking about Kyle, what's his name? Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah.
Now tell me, they're charging him with first-degree murder. There's video. I've tweeted it. I just looked at it again this morning. There's a million shots of this. At least two of the guys he shot. We think he shot three. One guy kind of ripped up his arm, but the other two he killed. One of them is bashing him with a skateboard. He's on the ground, and the guy is back. The other one, I think, is kicking him.
The other one had a gun. Well, the guy whose arm he blew off had a gun. And was over him, about to whack him.
I mean, they can bring this to trial if they want. There's no way in hell this guy's being convicted if he's legally allowed to carry the gun, and they're beating him. He's on the ground. Literally, he's laying like he's on his ass on the ground, and they're taking shots at him with one guy with the skateboard, which is smart. You guy with a rifle, and you're going to bash him with a skateboard. I don't care if he's 17. Not a smart move.
No,
that guy's dead, and they're charging Rittenhouse. Is that how you say it now? With first-degree murder. I don't really get how it's first degree. I mean, maybe it's overcharging, and they'll lower the charges, or maybe they'll go to trial and he'll get acquitted, and we'll have a whole new round of unrest. But the other thing, and I want to go back to LeBron, and boy, does this kid look like a little geek. He was, I can't believe he had whatever he has, an AR-15, but that's different. It's the Midwest. But he was out there removing graffiti, the BLM graffiti, and he was running around trying to help people. He had a medic kit. He was 17. He's like a Boy Scout with his little medic kit, and rifle, which was foolish. And now he's being charged, and we'll see how that goes. But I don't think it's real smart to bash a guy with a rifle with a skateboard. But I'm looking at the reaction to the players boycotting, and to me, it just seems that most of what LeBron does is easy. It's easy. This is easy. What's he sacrificing? I mean, they'll probably play. Maybe he'll even, win a title with an asterisk next to it. But here's the headline to the Boston Globe story. I can't read it because then I'd have to pay 99 cents for like 3 years, and that's way too much for the Globe. But I can see the headline. NBA players were fed up, so it was time to take the game away from a country that might not deserve it. Really? You think the country doesn't deserve to watch basketball? So we're going to walk off? How arrogant, how narcissistic do you have to be to say, first of all, most of the country wasn't watching it. They were getting like less than 1 million a game for a playoff game. And, they were getting like a quarter of the audience Hannity and Tucker Carlson get, but whatever. A country of 330 million doesn't deserve to watch whoever, shoot a basket or bounce a ball. That's how they think. I'm going to punish you. You're not going to get to watch me. Who are they punishing? I mean, I guess I don't even know who they're punishing. Their audience, their core audience is applauding it and saying, aren't they wonderful? Isn't LeBron dreamy? He's refusing to play. Two teams, the Lakers and Clippers, voted to cancel the rest of the season. The rest of the teams want to play, and I assume they will. But oh, by the way, I can't even see this either. But I can't see the story. But there's a headline for the hockey story. Kevin Dupont. I can't see anything he does because he blocked me. The Globe hockey writer, and a total woke liberal, suburban globy limo latte liberal. He writes the headline again. The NHL had a chance to take a stand against systemic racism. Instead, it stood down. He's ripping the friggin' NHL for playing and not walking off because a bunch of, Canadians and, Czechs and Swedes are supposed to quit their jobs essentially, or walk off their jobs, not do their jobs. Because why? Again, because Jacob Blake resisted arrest and went for the knife. So you're not supposed to play hockey.
My buddy texted me last night. It was after the Flyers game, and the post-game interview. Kevin Hayes is literally like he's sweating profusely and he's breathing heavily. And the first question he gets is about the NBA canceling games, and he's like, he wants nothing to friggin' do with it. Just wants nothing to do.
I don't blame him. Maybe he's not invested emotionally, mentally in this whole story. Maybe he's not aware, because hell, who is, of what exactly the demands are here, what exactly LeBron and company are asking for. Kevin Hayes is busy playing hockey, which is his job, and he's doing his job. LeBron is not doing his job. But the one thing they can do, if you, it doesn't matter if you walk off the court, if you wear a mask that says Black Lives Matter, if you say Black Lives Matter, if you're Kenny Smith and you're on TNT and you're supposed to be analyzing NBA games and you walk off, you can be guaranteed of good publicity, of good press. That's a lock. There's nobody in the in the NBA circles or ESPN circles, the networks that cover the team, nobody is going to call you out. Nobody on all the ESPN, around the horns and PTIs, they're all going to slobber over you just because you said, I don't feel like playing. I'm not playing. And I think a lot of the reaction for the country is, I didn't know you were playing anyway. I mean, what is the percentage? 99% of more than that of the country wasn't watching.
I'm not an NBA fan. I don't watch any organized sport other than like the Patriots, once a week. I am fine with all this. I am not missing anything. A group of athletes, I missed this from yesterday, a group of athletes led by NBA star LeBron James will roll out a multi-million-dollar program in the next few weeks to recruit poll workers in heavily black electoral districts for November's election. They're working with the NAACP on this. So that's how it animates itself. This is a political thing for Democrats. That's what it is. They're not playing because Donald Trump. That's essentially what this is.
The front page of the back page of the New York Post has a bunch of tweets from NBA players, and most of them say, "We demand change. We want change." And it's let's see, Josh Hart, Enes Kanter, LeBron James, of course, Trae Young, Donovan Mitchell. We demand change. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to put their money and their effort and their time into the get out the vote, and they're going to ask all their supporters to vote for all the people who are in office right now, who are overseeing, who are running these cities where all the chaos is, and the states where all the chaos is. So the people like Lori Lightfoot and the governor of Wisconsin and the mayor of all these cities, de Blasio or whatever, Cuomo, they're going to demand you get out and vote for the same people who are in charge now, where all the trouble, all the problems are occurring.
Yes.
That's what they're going to do.
Yes.
They want change, but just at the top, in the White House. Everyone else, cool. Every other mayor, every city councilor, Keith Ellison and Jacob Fry and all these other moonbat, lunatics who are encouraging the violence and the looting and they're okay. They want them to stay in office. But you are 100% right, Shattuck. It's about one guy.
Joe Biden, the proud author of mass incarceration. You need to elect him right now. And Kamala Harris, who is the proud executor of mass incarceration for young black men for misdemeanors, really, in California for a decade. That's who we're electing here. It's very important that we put those people right in. And Biden, by the way, has not completely coughed up his stance, his 94 crime bill. He still stands by it. So you want more of that? Joe Biden's a way to go.
And they're right. They're going to campaign for him. I mean, LeBron already is. Campaign for the guy who said, if you don't vote for him, you ain't black. And we've seen one great, smart, bold black Trump supporter after another this week. These people have guts. They're stepping out. They're not following the mob. They're not doing whatever LeBron or whoever tells them to. They're thinking for themselves, and they're supporting the real change candidate out there in Trump and Pence. But I want to hear. Can we hear Kenny Smith? I didn't really hear. I saw Kenny Smith walking off and getting kudos, of course, getting all the praise because it's just so brave walking off to support Black Lives. Black Lives Matter. I don't think he got into any specifics about what he wants to change or what he's demanding before he comes back to work. He just walked off, didn't do his job.
I think the biggest thing now is to kind of, as a black man, as a former player, I think it's best for me to support the players and just not be here tonight. And figure out what happens after that. I just don't feel equipped to do that.
And I respect that.
So there's a guy making millions to do a job that everyone would love to do. Sit with Barkley and Shaq and laugh and talk about the games. And he's not going to do his job. He's going to walk off on TNT, the company that pays him, because LeBron told him to. Because why? You support the players? Your job isn't to support the players. Your job is to talk about the players, analyze the players, criticize the players. That is so embarrassing.
It's not just embarrassing, Jerry. It's selfish. He stuck it to those guys. He stuck it to the producers. He waited till they were on live to pull that crap.
Good point.
Now, if you want to bang in sick or just say, I'm not doing this today, I'm kind of sitting this one out because of the spirit of this thing, then do it. And they can even mention it on the air. It was a selfish photo op, jerk opportunist move. And that's what it is. I mean, so everybody gets to do their symbolic thing. Everybody gets to be performative and do their symbolism thing. Up here where I am and maybe where you are, but when you're on vacation, Jerry, it's yard signs and we have a bunch of high schoolers in the town next door, all white kids who do a George Floyd march and 2 towns over, they pretend there's hate crimes happening and then they march for the pretend hate crimes that happen where I'm in white land up here, so the guilt is through the roof. But I mean, everybody gets to perform here. Everybody gets to be part of this thing. And it's happening. You've taught these people how to be woke, and they're going after their own colleges, which I find delicious. And they're going after newspapers and media organizations, which is a dangerous thing because, there have been these coups at newspapers now, and they're led by just dummies, just woke, idealists who have had no real world experience, don't know what the hell they're talking about, and who they're running the show now. So great.
Kenny, what if Charles Barkley and Shaq walked off too? So they're going to leave Ernie, their buddy, their coworker, just sitting there. This is a time where Kenny Smith should be most valued, because last night I didn't put on TNT, but I certainly got on. I was watching ESPN this morning, which I don't do that often anymore, to see the story, to see the coverage of the story. And of course, they're slobbering over all these guys who refuse to go to work, refuse to do their jobs. They're not demanding answers. They're just looking for bumper stickers and tweets and sound bites saying change and vote and was sick of it. What is Shaq's tweeting? I mean, LeBron's
but what did you expect? I think it was Clay Travis who tweeted. He was dead on. This is going to be a temporary thing. They're going to get their impressions. They're going to win the PR war. Right, and then the NBA is going to cut a check to some organization, and all of a sudden they're going to come back 24 or 48 hours later and play basketball.
Well, what's the difference? What change will they affect? What will be the change? What will they get out of it?
Well, you already said it. We're going to get more people to vote for the guy that they want to win.
But I tell you, I said this months ago, Dave, you and Tom. I said the NBA is going to overdo it, overplay their hand, and it's one thing to sit there and say, they started with Breonna Taylor, they've moved on to Jacob Blake and talk about the incident and say, I want to know why this happened. I want to know if these cops are going to be charged. I think they should be. There's a whole new story about Breonna Taylor came out about her connection to the drug kingpin and how she bailed him out and how she was still working with him. It's not good. It's not good for the cause of there's only we don't have to get into it too much, but there's only a chance of one cop being charged. He's already been fired because he shot the most. He shot the most rounds, and he probably killed her. He might get charged, but there's no way the other cops are getting charged. And if you're a Breonna Taylor friend, family member, you don't want all this stuff coming out, with her visiting him in prison and all that. It's the Louisville paper, Courier Journal, did a deep dive, and it upset some people. They don't want facts and truth and all that, but LeBron won't get into that. But again, it's one thing to say, Breonna Taylor, Jacob Blake, this can't happen. We want answers. But when you just, you paint the court, you have messages on your shirts, you're taking a knee, you just every day it's more activism, more wokeness. I think that turns some people off. Not everybody. They're getting whatever, 1 million people a game. I'm sure they were hoping for many more than that. But I said they're going to overdo it, and they have. A lot of people yesterday, and maybe it's just the people that I follow on Twitter or politically aligned with are like, screw them. I'm not watching. I haven't watched much, to this point. And when they come back from this little boycott, their numbers are going to be worse. And it's probably not the majority of fans, but some fans are going to say, screw them.
It's just so damn disingenuous, too, because we've been talking about Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and George Floyd. And these stories of these people, at least two of whom probably should not have been, maybe all of them were it was horrible shootings and shouldn't have been shot. Who knows? But their stories have been in the mainstream media since they were killed. These have not been. We have been saying their names before BLM and LeBron James told us we need to say their names before they were on the T-shirts. We've been reporting on this stuff. It's been in my paper, and none of these murders happened. None of these killings happened in Lowell, Massachusetts. It's been in all sorts of papers. We've been talking about this stuff forever. We've been talking about over-policing, police brutality, and police incursions into the neighborhood, communities. When I was at the Herald, we used to have the mothers of young kids who were shot in the paper, in the building all the time. We'd constantly talk to these folks and talk about their stories. We would have the cops in to talk about how they, go into the neighborhoods and relationships. We've constantly been talking about this stuff and working on this stuff and having this debate, and to act like now, no, you have to take a fist. You need to realize what's going on. Screw you. We've been realizing and having this debate for years, but you've been effing off doing whatever the hell you else do for a living. We've been getting rich through shooting 3-pointers. This is our jobs. We've been disseminating this information and having these difficult conversations about systems and putting the hard work in and all the cliches. So it's so disingenuous to think that we're just getting to this. Oh my goodness, you're just getting. No, this is not a watershed moment. We've been working on this forever.
It's like saying that we need to have a conversation. I said that's Kamala Harris's favorite line. We need to have a conversation. The difficult conversations. The conversation never stops. I mean, in real life and on cable news and on podcasts and the radio, people talk about the racial strife, the racial problems constantly. I mean, some people talk about it in quick sound bites, like LeBron or Popovich, and other people like you point out in journalism have get deep into it because it is such a big story, a big part of our lives. And the problem is that there are people who don't really want to, go deeply into it, just want to follow and hold up a fist or, walk off their job and say, Black Lives Matter. Do they want to talk about what actually can change, what will change? No, that's too hard. That's too hard.
If you were new to this country, if you just got off the boat and you watched last week the Democratic convention and then watched this week the Republican convention, you would think that the Republican Party is the party of minorities, of Blacks and Latinos and people of Indian descent. And you would say, wow, what a diverse party, and what an interesting bunch of entrepreneurs and success stories, and people have overcome stuff. And you'll never, of course, that's not how the media reports it. The media reports it as something very, very dire happening, and
right. They're like apostates. Richard Grinnell, he's a traitor.
Yes,
he's a gay guy who supports Trump. How dare he? How dare he? But you're absolutely right. That's why it's been such an impressive 3 nights so far for the RNC. It's just very, diverse. That's what matters. That's all that matters to liberals is skin color and sexual orientation. And you're seeing, at least as they define it, you're seeing real diversity up there on stage. But we'll get to the RNC. I don't know what's going to happen with football. Again, I say football is more important than any other sport. We know it. Football will have a bigger impact. I heard Aaron Rodgers talking about systemic racism. You know what would take real balls for somebody to say, I don't think this country is systemically racist. I mean, some athlete, some NBA player. I mean, they can't do it. That's why I said Trump has lost sports, because the most important people in sports are good woke liberals like LeBron, and they're not going to they can't tolerate a teammate disagreeing with them. You can't have someone stepping out of line and saying, I kind of like the Trump agenda. I kind of like secure borders, or I kind of like the police, supporting the police.
Or what was the story yesterday? Wasn't it in the NHL? Logan Couture said something about being a Republican and he got punched in the face or something. Did you see this? Yeah, I don't know. I just saw the headlines. I don't know the full story, but he was having a conversation with somebody about voting Republican, and he got sucker punched, and then it turned into this big.
Well, that just shows you,
sucker punched by whom? Another player?
I gotta look into it, but it was trending on Twitter. I'll get it for you.
I'd like to hear that story. Yeah. Why don't you do that? Get that story. That sounds like a good one, but you can't do it. I mean, even in the NFL, it's going to be hard for someone to say, I like secure borders and lower taxes, and I like I'm against abortion. I'm a Christian. You can't do that in the NBA. You absolutely can't. If you're just some guy, I mean, you'd have to be a superstar to get away with it. And even then, I don't think you're going to want to cross LeBron and Curry and all the rest who are big Biden supporters, big abortions, open borders, defund the police. They're on board with all of that. I don't think you'll see football like walk off the job.
Well, I mean, Jerry Jones said that he seems to be all in. He's going to have people in the stands, he said. And, he did the thing where they had the take a knee time, hug, take a knee time, whatever.
He won't do that again. I think that's his thing, but they won't. He'll say, we'll do it once, and then that's it. He'll do it once. But can you imagine down in Texas football? I mean, you can't feel like that there are a lot of people supporting, Black Lives Matter in a lot of you Cowboy fans. You think there are a lot of Cowboy fans who are supporting a Marxist organization that wants to defund the cops? I don't think so.
No, and I would think that in Texas as well, and Black Lives Matter is not whole cloth accepted in the Black community either. As a matter of fact, the vast majority of people in the Black communities want the cops around. They don't believe
the number. Tom, the number is 81%. They did a poll. 81% of Black people polled said they either want to keep the funding the same or increase it. You don't get 81% of people to say much of anything these days, but they're very much in the minority, the people screaming to defund the cops. But they're loud, and they're literally loud, going into restaurants and demanding, complete fealty to the cause. Raise your fist and profess your undying support.
Right. And you would think because there's a lived experience that you and me have to listen and shut up, you would think that rioters would have to listen and shut up, listen to Blake's mother, who's beseeching them to stop. Please stop doing this and destroying our city. My son would not have wanted this. But no, it's not.
I tweeted that. I said, if Jacob Blake's mother can say, stop this. By the way, she said she missed a call from the president, but she wants to talk to him. But if she could say, stop this, no more looting, no more rioting, why can't Doc Rivers do that? Doc Rivers, right. and again, I like the guy. He was very nice to me when we had him on the air, and he's a, coaching. He's a good coach, but he hasn't really had the results. He's got one title that took, Kevin Garnett and the big three here in Boston to get him that one title. He's made a fortune as a player, a broadcaster, and a coach. He is beloved. Players like him, broadcasters, fans like him. He's really well-liked guy. I think it's obnoxious to say, we love this country. This country doesn't love us back. What are you talking about? You're talking about the country doesn't love who back? The country doesn't love Jacob Blake? Well, maybe they shouldn't. The guy's domestic abuser and a criminal who resisted arrest. Did he deserve to be shot? I don't know. We're going to there's an investigation underway. We'll determine that. But isn't that just obnoxious, arrogant to say this country doesn't love me? A guy who has made hundreds, I believe he's made $100 million. He's lived an incredible life, and God knows he's earned it. He deserves it. It's his America. But to turn around and say this country doesn't love us, what is the country doesn't love who? LeBron? The country doesn't love who? What are you talking about? I mean, every night, the Republican convention, does country love, Tim Scott or Daniel Cameron or Kim Klasich?
Right. I think 4 years ago.
What is he talking about? Who does the country not love?
Right.
Doc Rivers. And all he has to do is say this, and then he gets choked up. And the media and the Twitterverse, they just start fawning. Isn't he amazing? Isn't he dreamy? And I'm thinking, no, he's not. Maybe he is a nice guy, but he's wrong. He's wrong. There's no. Again, tell me what I would love someone to say, Doc. What do you mean when you say this country is systemically racist? What do you mean? Because I see just the opposite. I see a land of great opportunity here for people like you, people of color who've achieved and who've lived the American dream, and you turn around and say, blame the country. I mean, you want to blame whatever, a bad cop here and there, or you want to blame whoever. You name names if you want, blame Trump if you want, but don't tell me the country doesn't love you back. That is just so absurd.
It is absurd. In 2008, you had the historically high turnout. Americans who never voted before turned out just to vote for a black man to be president, and they reelected him. That turnout in 2008 is probably not going to be duplicated. Only maybe if the population increases. But historically, we had for 8 years a black president, a black first lady, a black attorney general, two black attorney generals. One was a black woman.
Right. Right.
And America, reelected that president. He's still hugely popular. And to say that there was nothing to that it's just an inane thing to say. But to defend him a little bit. I mean, if his job is to be a basketball guy, I don't know if he still coaches or if he does analysis, whatever it is, that's his job.
He's coaching.
So if he only has a few minutes a day to check the news and throw on CNN, check out the New York Times, or whatever, then the information he's getting is that black people are being slaughtered in the streets, and there's a white supremacist in the White House, and he doesn't have time to vet all this stuff. As far as he knows, it's true, And I mean, it's kind of odd.
He said he was watching the Republican convention.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
and, he's a big Democrat. That's fine, but the country doesn't love us. The country adores you. The country adores LeBron James and Steph Curry.
Mm-hmm.
The country loves, you name it, Beyonce. The country. At some point, I would love Doc Rivers to say, God, what a great freaking country this is. Look at me. Look at us. Look at me. We're the greatest country on earth. Hell, in China, they're putting people in concentration camps. You can't speak out like Jamel Hill, who's made a fortune, marginal talent at best, not a good writer. She made a fortune in the media, and she turns around and says, we're no different than Nazi Germany. As Matt Walsh pointed out, you know how we're different than Nazi Germany? Because this idiot could compare us to Nazi Germany, and there are no consequences. In fact, just the opposite. She'll get another podcast from Bill Simmons. She can compare us to Nazi Germany and just keep cashing checks. You know what happened when you criticized the government in Nazi Germany, Jamel? You know what happened? You disappeared. You were never heard from again. You didn't make millions to do, podcasts or write for the Atlantic, write stories for the Atlantic that nobody reads. You are proof that we are a wonderful country and not Nazi Germany. You idiot.
But the Times, the mainstream media will laud her, and should be able to give her a Pulitzer this year or a Nobel Prize, from Switzerland or whatever. But you look at like Ben Carson, who grew up disadvantaged, was a bad seed as a teenager, according to him. Was a violent youth. Somehow somebody turned him on to reading, got into reading, fell in love with books, went to college, went to medical school, was a huge pioneer in brain surgery and this crazy
pediatric brain surgery.
Exactly. Rose in the ranks, and then now is running housing HUD. He's in the cabinet now of the United States, the president, and I mean this guy is treated like crap. He's a punchline, of course.
Tonight he's speaking tonight, I believe. Wait for this, Shattuck. Wait for this. You'll see it on Twitter. All the CNNs and the usual yappers on the left will say he's stupid or say he's a moron, say he's an idiot. He is a pediatric brain surgeon. I mean, I know some people can cheat their way through college or, fake it like, like you're a Kennedy and you're really dumb and you make it through whatever, Providence College. I understand that happens. I cheated once or twice too. You think you can cheat your way to a medical degree and become a pediatric brain surgeon if you're not brilliant? The guy's brilliant, but
innovative if separating conjoined twins and keeping them alive, which is remarkable. First of all, who the hell would want to do that? But an angel, and for him to do that was just like remarkable. That guy should have, and there was a movie made about him, but Jesus, man, he should be celebrated.
And you watched tonight, Sarah Silverman and Bette Midler will say what a dummy he is. It is kind of comical. I'm looking forward to it. I gave you my plan yesterday. I'm going to reiterate my plan on how Trump can assure his reelection tonight, live in real time at 10 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to tell you what he could do. I'm not sure he'll do it. What he could do to just completely flip the thing and take a double-digit lead. It would be that good, that effective. But and we will recap and review the RNC from last night. Some great speeches, and we'll tell you about the single dumbest chyron in CNN history right after I tell you about Shea Concrete. Shea Concrete. This is for you homeowners and you home builders. Did you know that Shea Concrete has a huge selection of precast concrete steps? Probably the best. They're better than any company. They have a great selection of precast concrete steps. Whether you're building a new home or you need to replace an old staircase, Shea's got the deal for you. They have great values, designs for any home, available in concrete or customized with beautiful stone, granite, or brick. Look at the blue stone. That's my favorite. Check out the blue stone. A new staircase can dramatically upgrade the front entrance to your home and dramatically upgrade the value of your home. In most cases, they can remove the old stairs and have you walking up the new front steps within hours. You do nothing. In fact, you can sit inside and watch them do this, and when they're done, your house will look better and it'll be worth more. Learn more about Shea's precast concrete steps at sheaconcrete.com and check out the jobs. They get jobs, CDL drivers, personnel at all their plants. If you're looking for work, this might be the place for you. Just send your resume to jobs@sheaconcrete.com. All right, last night, excuse me, we knew that Trump was going to do this. The Trump team was going to do this up, and it was going to be very theatrical. It was going to be done well, done right. And I had no idea it would be this good technically. I mean, I don't know who's behind this, behind it all. It's certainly not the president. He's got more important things than doing the lights and the camera angles and the quality of the video. But it is so much better than the DNC from last week, and it's so much brighter, and it just feels like a much, much better production, and certainly more optimistic. The Democrats, their message was stay home, stay inside, don't go to school. We're all going to die. Cops are evil. The virus is coming. And it's just the opposite. They actually have people at the RNC, people clapping, which was, you didn't see last week. It helps. It really does. It helps to have some noise and some energy. And there were some great speeches. I mean, starting with the nun/MD/Army Colonel, Deidre Byrne, I believe, Sister Deidre, whatever. But you don't get this at a Democrat convention. A nun, doctor, Army Colonel, all in one. Badass. And she got up there and spoke about protecting the unborn. Again, you don't see that at the Democrat convention. She was great. Kayleigh McEnany was spectacular. I know I have a thing for her, but she was talking about having a double mastectomy, and it was a tough personal topic. She was great. So was Kellyanne Conway. A lot of women, a lot of African Americans, a minorities and whatever. If you're looking for identity politics, you had Richard Grinnell, a high-profile gay guy who was great, and you had, in my opinion, the highlight, and it's tough because there were some good ones, would be Madison Cawthorn, the House candidate for the House in North Carolina, who is paralyzed from the waist down. He's a really good-looking guy who got paralyzed in a car accident when he was in high school, I believe. And he's still a really good-looking guy, but he joked. He says he used to be 6'3", and now he's in a wheelchair. And this was borderline hokey, corny, and I knew the media would criticize him for it, but he literally had two guys come out and put out like a walker as he's wrapping up his speech, which was excellent. And he stood for this country, essentially stood for the anthem. And of course, he got criticized today by, I think it was Yamiche. Somebody criticized.
Yes, your favorite, Yamiche Alcindor said.
Oh, here you go. Yeah, here you go. Direct rebuke of actions by people, PPL. Why can't you write the word people? Anyway, including black athletes who are currently sitting out games protesting police brutality. So it was a direct rebuke. Well, I guess if you want, I guess that's true. And it was great. It was much needed. He stood and he's paralyzed. He kind of held himself up, and it was extremely emotional, extremely effective. I'm telling you, I think I'm a kind of a hard guy, tough guy, a callous guy, a heartless guy. I was getting choked up. I got choked. Kayleigh McEnany got me choked up. This guy, Madison Cawthorn, got me choked up. I plan on watching again tonight, and I don't know what to expect. But every night he's had some kind of surprise, freeing hostages or pardoning
making new Americans. You're right. And it's and Yamiche says, Cawthorn made it a point to stand, suggesting that all Americans should stand. It's not that he was making a point, Yamiche. It's that his legs don't work and he still got up to show reverence. That's the point.
And by the way, for Pence's speech in Baltimore, they had a bunch of wounded vets and people similar in wheelchairs with walkers, and their family members. And when it was over, Trump went up and you couldn't touch them and shake hands, but he talked to them all. Actually, Pence was fist bumping some of them, which was terrible message. I mean, they're all going to die of the virus any day now. But and you know what? They didn't have masks on, which is the real story of the night. They had a crowd there. All of whom tested negative that day, but she's supposed to wear a mask because that's what Joe Biden wants.
Did you see that when they did the naturalization of the citizens 2 days ago?
Yes.
When they showed it on CNN, and then they cut to the studio afterwards, and it was a surprise. So the CNN panel didn't know what to say about it. So Dana Bash said, the first thing that jumps out at me is the stark visual that nobody there had a mask on. that was the important thing. Now, about Madison Cawthorn, this kid who was, it was a tearjerker freaking moment. This whole thing, who knew that this would be what this week was? You expect flyovers and Lee Greenwood at Republican convention.
Well, you had Travis, what's his face, the country singer,
Tritt.
No, the other. Damn it! I watched it. I like this guy. He sang the a cappella anthem, and it was
Randy
great.
Travis?
No,
it's all my Travises.
No, it's not Travis. Then it's okay. Go ahead.
But so Madison Cawthorn, the newest thing about him, by the way, is troublesome social media posts where he's advocating for white supremacists, Jerry. And I don't know if you saw this, but he's got a picture of himself on his Facebook page at the Eagle's Nest, which I think is in Austria, Hitler's summer place where he used to pet his German shepherds and hang around with Eva Braun. So he's got this picture with himself at the Eagle's Nest, and the headline is troublesome social media picture shows him paying tribute to Adolf Hitler's lair and the Nazi whatever. And his own description in the Facebook thing says, this is really cool. Of course, the Nazi regime was evil, but it's so exciting to be where the Third Army rolled in and took over Hitler's symbolic summer home in 1945. It's incredible.
And there's a famous picture with all the Allied troops, kicking back and smiling and having a drink in the Eagle's Nest. obviously they were all supporters of
Yes.
the Nazi leader as well. But he's going to be a force, man. He's going to be the youngest person ever elected to Congress, as he
But
said last night.
that just tells you, Jerry, just how good this convention has been. Is that CNN cannot handle, the news cannot handle how good this is. They don't know how to position it. All they know is that they want it to seem like things are going badly.
Well, consider this. Consider what CNN. Oh no, I'm sorry, MSNBC. I try to keep track of when they cut away and when they go back. You know, they cut away whenever anyone offends them, and they fact check. That's their claim. They cut away constantly. They didn't do it for the DNC because God knows, you know, Joe Biden would never lie. So they didn't go away to fact check him, but they fact check Kristi Noem. I think it was Rachel Maddow. Cuts away Kristi Noem, the spectacular governor of South Dakota, who has a huge future in the party and national politics, because she, you know, there's some good looking women up there. Kayleigh McEnany certainly one, and there have been others, but she is just she's number one on my list. Kristi Noem. She sparkles, she glows, and she's talking about civil unrest in the cities and all that. They cut away. They go to MSNBC, cuts away, goes to Rachel Maddow to fact check, and you know she has on the governor of Washington. What's her name? Durkin. What's Durkin?
Yeah. Jenny Durkin, is it?
Yes, Jenny Durkin, who oversaw, you know, the months
Chop
rioting and Chop and Chaz, and let that all happen. She's going to fact check Kristi Noem on civil unrest and rioting. But it was Trace Atkins with the a cappella anthem. It was great. And all the people in the front row were great. It was just so well done, so well choreographed. I get nervous when Trump talks because he can go off script and ruin everything. And tonight, he's hopefully going to stick to the script and stick to the teleprompter and not wish, you know, Roger Ailes were still around, or not wish Ghislaine Maxwell all the best. Doesn't do anything really dumb. But I still say he could win the election at 10 o'clock tonight if he does what I am encouraging him to do, which is sign the order to bring all the troops home. Tell me the flaw in that. Tell me why you wouldn't do that. I'm going to say it again. This would blow away everything else they've done. It's been great seeing him pardon people and, you know, seeing all these human interest things that he's managed to pull off this week. But tell me what the flaw in that would be. At 10 o'clock tonight, announce all the troops are coming home, and then cut to a video of the troops actually packing up their footlockers and getting on helicopters and getting the hell out of that shithole country.
It would be a good visual. I mean, you'd obviously CNN would have a problem like they did today when they say controversies undercut RNC speakers and raise questions over vetting. The CNN would have a problem. Oh, actually, the Hatch Act too. That would be a big Hatch Act violation.
Oh yeah, right. Although he's already kind of flaunted that with Pompeo.
He has,
and done everything, you know, in the Oval Office, signing those pardons, and he's driven them crazy already. I think it would drive them over the edge. They wouldn't know what to do. Pull all the troops out. What are you going to do if you're CNN and MSNBC? What are you going to do if you're Joe Biden? Say, no, we need to stay there. Because nobody wants to be there. It's the most no-brainer issue right now for Trump, a game changer, a winner. Just say, we're done, we're out, we're coming home, and challenge, you know, Kamala and Joe to disagree with that. What could they do?
It would be a bold move. I mean, I don't know if it certainly would bring all the Republicans home. And I mean, it should bring progressives home. It would be a bold move, and if he coordinated it with live video, that would be incredibly offensive to many in the media. They'd never get over it. They'd never using troops as props, as playthings. It would be incredible.
Because they love our troops. I mean, it's like this. I'm telling you, he has done a good job. Trump has this week so far. And Pence did a good job, and Melania did a good job, and all the Trump kids and Trump relatives. And again, Madison Cawthorn and the nun, Deirdre Byrne, and Kellyanne Conway, and Kayleigh McEnany, and all the speakers we've seen this week, from Tim Scott to Dan Cameron, by the way, Dan Cameron, the Louisville DA, who is a Louisville Attorney General, who is so far refusing to charge the cops in the Breonna Taylor case. And that takes balls. I mean, he's getting pressure from all directions to charge these cops, but he thinks he can't get a conviction, so he's not going to do it, at least to this point. So he spoke, and he was excellent. There were just some great speeches so far, and I hope Trump doesn't screw it up, because he's getting a bounce. He's getting a bounce out of this for two reasons. It's very well done, and the backdrop is helping. The backdrop of cities burning, looting, rioting, the players walking off the court. There's only so much of this insurrection that people can handle, particularly it's going on right now in a couple of winnable states, important states, Wisconsin and Minnesota. There are people in those states are saying, screw this, I'm going to go with the law and order guy, even though he's a little bit of a loose cannon.
Yes, and that's what this RNC has been, a showcase of the best in people, regardless of gender and race, whatever. And it's been so positive. But the DNC, I went and I listened to the Joe Biden speech because it was so positive and uplifting, and a soaring delivery about the good in America and what we can be. So I listened to the first 5 minutes and just extracted the stuff that would have been considered dark. Just the first 5 minutes of the speech I listened to, and I just took out the stuff that maybe you might consider dark. Tell me if you can hear this. Did you hear that right then?
I did not. No.
Okay, you're going to hear it now. Ready?
The current president has cloaked American darkness for much too long. Too much anger, too much fear, too much division. The worst, the darkness, this season of darkness in America. Fear, fiction, massive unemployment, uncertainty, and fear. Stricken by a disease, stricken by a virus, the selfish. The privileged few at the top. Injustice of a knee on the neck. America of rising inequity and shrinking opportunity. And now history has delivered us to one of the most difficult moments America's ever faced. Four historic crises, all at the same time. A perfect storm. The worst pandemic in over 100 years. The worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. And the undeniable realities and just the accelerating threats of climate change. America's at an inflection point, a time of real peril. You can choose a path of becoming angrier, less hopeful, more divided, a path of shadow and suspicion.
That's just the first 5 minutes.
When he won me over when they said he was going to be an ally of the light. I've always wanted my president, I always wanted my politicians to be allies of the light.
How come his speech wasn't dark, Jerry, when he used the word dark 83 times?
Ally of the light. And the other thing Trump's done is put the pressure on him to come out of the basement. Even liberals, even CNNers and they're saying time to campaign. And be careful, social distance. People have to get tested. They're going to be around you, but time to get out of the basement. That's bad news for Biden. And on top of all that, yesterday, Trump said, you know what we should do before the debates? Have a drug test. And immediately, Hunter Biden said, you mean just the candidate, right? Not the whole family, please? Not the whole family. I don't know what Trump's thinking. Maybe he thinks there's some drug that Biden's on to keep him from losing track. Like, those TV commercials you always see during the day, that those drugs that Prevagen or whatever it is to keep focused. Maybe he thinks Biden does something like that, and he's going to catch him.
Or some hydrochloroquine too.
That's true. Yeah,
which he's probably taking. But Biden came out yesterday, and he didn't come out. Actually, he broadcasted a video message about the violence, about the shooting of Blake, of course, saying it was horrible, whatever, and saying we can't condone the violence happening in the streets and the looting. We can't condone that, which means that they're seeing numbers that are not looking good in battleground states. So when he starts parroting Trump,
Don Lemon came out and said, denounced the violence. First time in 3 months, CNN, Don Lemon, who's the second dumbest guy on CNN, was talking to the dumbest, Fredo Cuomo, and said, this has to stop. It's hurting our guy. It's hurting the candidate, So they're seeing polls too. Everybody's seeing polls. Hell, It's about time. Most people are against looting, rioting. I mean, they beat up a guy who owned a store in Minneapolis the other night and robbed him. 71-year-old guy knocked him unconscious and robbed him. And I'm thinking, who's on board with that? Raise your hand. Who wants more of that?
Right.
Nobody. That's why Trump has to just keep hammering away at the law and order thing, and put the pressure on Biden. Biden finally criticized the looters and rioters. It only took them 3 months, but you're right. They know it's a losing issue for them. They know they have to do something. They know they have to pretend that they don't support the chaos, even though they certainly support the chaos because it hurts Trump and helps them. But we'll see. It's going to get worse. What happens if they announce they're not charging the cop? It took them 3 days to come out with the report about the knife. Would have been nice to know that right away. If they come out and say that the cops did what they were supposed to do, that means you're going to have a whole new round of rioting and looting and
yeah, because if they don't charge the cop for shooting a black man, but you charge this 17-year-old kid for killing white people with first-degree murder.
That's right. The
NBA is really going to not play.
There's unbelievable video, and I think I'll retweet it. It's uncomfortable because one of the two who died, one of the two who were shot by the 17-year-old, and they're both kind of, they got some issues in their past. But one of them, he's got a shaved head and he's kind of scary. He's ready. He's looking for a fight, and he goes up to someone and he uses the N-word. It says, "Shoot me, N-word, shoot me." That day, this video of him doing this, saying, "Shoot me," telling somebody on the other side of the fight to shoot him. And later that night, the kid did. This kid, Kyle Rittenhouse, shot him. And they're charging him with first-degree murder, which is bizarre because you're not going to convict the guy for first-degree murder when he's getting bashed in the head with a skateboard just before he pulls the trigger. I don't even know how that's first-degree murder.
Yeah, and the second guy, the guy whose arm he shot off, he was holding a gun.
That's right. He even held the gun after half his arm was gone. He still had a gun in his hand. So what happens when they drop the charges or he gets acquitted? The problem we have is this has worked in their minds. The people who are looting and rioting, the Black Lives Matter Marxists, say this is working. They have $1.6 billion. It's been donated to them. They don't have to even use it on bail because there's no bail in these cities. They just let them go. It's working. They're getting, they're forcing change. They get the NBA guys walking off the job. They have Kenny Smith walking off the job. They feel like what they're doing is working. So next time there's a big problem, a big issue, they're going to do it again. They're going to, rob Saks, kick in the door and loot Saks Fifth Avenue because why not?
Right. If you kick in the door at Saks Fifth Avenue and the coverage is about militarized police, then it's win-win. People get free stuff on the ground, so they'll keep on going out there. And the coverage is about militarized police, which means systemic racism. That means more shaking down from Black Lives Matter. And it's an absolute winning formula as it is right now. Although there's this video in New York, I don't know if you saw it, that shows this young black family, husband, wife, and child in an elevator. As the elevator door is closing, these two other black guys open the door. One guy's got a gun on him, and the other guy just rips them off, steals all their wallets, and terrorizes. Of course, the little girl is terrorized. Nobody dies or anything like that, but that's what's happening. It's the black community that's getting affected by this, far more than anybody else. Their lives, the people who are doing the right thing and just trying to live and be law-abiding and climb up the ladder and work their asses off and get a piece of the American dream. They're getting kneecapped here. And there should be a reckoning for that.
Yeah, well, that's true. But, Doc Rivers didn't cry over them. So he cried for Jacob Blake. And it was everything. It was everything. But we will be watching more of it tonight, more rioting, more looting, and more Republican National Convention. Trump tonight, I hope he doesn't screw it up. It's been a great week for his campaign, his team. And I hope he sticks to the script and sticks to the teleprompter. I think he should announce that we're leaving Afghanistan, but it probably won't, but he'll announce something. There'll be some real interesting twist.
I'm going to put a bet out there, Jerry, against your Afghanistan bet, is that he makes this a Hurricane Laura speech. That this is all about being operationally adept and competent, and he'll kind of forego his normal speech to make it mostly about that.
Those they're regional, that's regional. We're not being affected really by it here, and most of the country's not. It looks terrible for Louisiana and parts of Texas, but it doesn't affect everybody. But we'll see. It'll be good. It'll be entertaining. We'll find out what kind of surprises he had. Before we go, can we see the CNN Chiron that we were laughing about? Is Cullinane still with us, or did he fall asleep? There we go. There's another great CNN Chiron. A huge fire in the background in Kenosha, Wisconsin. The Chiron says, fiery but mostly peaceful protests.
I think I have the video. Hold on, let me see, because I'd like to hear the words coming out.
This guy starts talking about the anger, the righteous anger from around the country. He's supposed to be covering this riot, but he's rationalizing the riot like they all do on CNN.
Christine, Laura, what you're seeing behind me is one of multiple locations that have been burning in Kenosha, Wisconsin over the course of the night. A second night since Jacob Blake was seen shot in the back 7 times by a police officer. And what you are seeing now, these images came and come in stark contrast to what we saw over the course of the daytime hours in Kenosha and into the early evening, which were largely peaceful demonstrations in the face of law enforcement. It wasn't until night fell that things began to get a little bit more contentious.
Okay, so he's saying that it was peaceful in the afternoon. It's not right now, though the Chiron doesn't reflect what the words coming out of his mouth.
Always the case. Yeah. No one riots.
Well, I think it's nighttime half of the day, though, and that's problematic, right?
Well, in Portland, they said the Antifa scum don't come out till midnight. So they know they come out midnight till like 5 a.m. That's their schedule. These are night owls. These Antifa guys, and these poor cops, they have to work those same hours to maintain control, but.
Fires look better at night anyway.
Gotta keep going. The weather's right. It's still summertime. People are still frustrated with the lockdowns. A lot of them are unemployed or not going to school because of the great overreaction from the governors and mayors and politicians. So the formula, the recipe is still there for more civil unrest, which is, I guess, good for Trump, good for the RNC, but
we should say this before we go, because I know a lot of people were not expecting to see Tom Shattuck on a Thursday. We do support Turtle Boy's decision to take his headphones off this morning and walk off the recording.
Yes.
So we do support you. So just want to put that out there.
Or we could say, like, every time I went on vacation, the old days, Dino, my old partner, would say I was suspended, and people would be, oh, what did he say? What did he do? It worked the first 15, 16 times, but eventually it didn't work, and we could pretend Turtle Boy suspended because God knows he deserves it.
Yes, it's true. It's true. We did. Yeah, we did. Actually, when he told me he couldn't make it today, part of me was a little happy about that. So.
What did he say? Why couldn't he make it?
He's in court today. Shocker.
He's in court. He's getting sued again.
Yes.
He's got a pretty good record, though. He usually wins those cases. But,
well, I said good luck, and he said his response was not my first rodeo. So
it's true. He knows
he's okay.
He knows his way around most of the courthouses out there in Central Mass. But Shattuck, thanks for stepping in. We appreciate it. That's Tom Shattuck, host of the Burn Barrel podcast and writer, editor, and media critic for the Lowell Sun. We will talk to you again next week, Shattuck.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
And thanks to Shea Concrete and Allied Paving, and thanks to DCU. And by the way, I'm on Buck Sexton, correct?
Yes. Today at 1:30, right?
Awesome.
That's your guy. No, you're doing the media rounds today. Buck Sexton at 1:30, Newsmax at 5:40.
Syndicated. Right? He's on 200 radio stations. I'm not sure what time my interview will be heard. I'll find out and tweet it out, but I'll be on with my man Buck Sexton, who's been excellent on this whole current series of news events and on Twitter as well. But and then tomorrow I'm back on Newsmax TV.
Oh, that's right. That's tomorrow. I thought
Donald Trump's favorite television network. I will be on there recapping the RNC and everything else they want. But anything else, Cullinane?
That's all. Rate, review, subscribe, and we will see you on Monday.
Excellent. I'm Jerry Callahan. This is the Callahan Podcast, and we will talk to you again soon.